Hi everyone. Um, Welcome back to yet another video. In this video, we'll be looking at what is known as a multi-tenant framework, where if you're creating this multi-agent contract review, then the idea is that instead of you creating separate code bases for various tenants, you can basically have a tenant config in place, and which will in turn load the different thresholds, because obviously the thresholds related to risk, related to compliance would vary based on different tenants. And same goes for a particular tenant of yours using different contracts for different customers, right? So we can divide this tenant into various heads like region, um, contract type, um, and then and various other parameters could be there, right? The thing is that it depends on the use case and the kind of vertical you are in. So the contracts also differ, the compliance rules and your risks also differ based on the type of industry, right? I already mentioned. The contract types, based on that also the compliances may be different. So all these things combined, uh, you know it's not one set of rules which will work for all, right? The thresholds would vary based on the different attributes are told, and similarly you may have maybe different parameters itself on which you are checking for compliance or risk analysis. So what we'll do is, if I share my screen real quick. So if you remember, we were here where we had a decision. We had already created the decision lambda, and then we also made the changes on the ASL file to accommodate the decision agent after the two parallel agents in risk and compliance, right? And then here we created this basic rules logic where we were first checking for the risk, then the compliance status, and then the overall confidence, right? And we were concerned with the inputs being compliance findings and risk findings. Compliance findings at that time contained your compliance score and the compliance status, right? And risk findings contained overall risk score and overall confidence. So that was what we did at that time. Now, instead of me hard coding this 0.07 and 7, how can we make it config based, where it may differ a little bit based on your tenant or your customer also? If somebody uh, you know uh, who is watching, looking for a contract review system, right, and wants a customer based config. So basically the point I'm trying to make is, tenant and customer based conflicts both we can do as a hybrid, if required. So but the I don't want to go into the specifics of that implementation, because as I mentioned, a lot of different use cases we can think of. The idea of this video is to show, instead of hard coding, how we can make it more config based. Now the details of that config can differ case to case, right? So we can go into that in a separate video, or that is more for a consultation call with us, right? Because it depends on the type of industry, the region, the type of contracts, and so on and so forth. But yeah, all of that can work because we already have a framework in place at our end if we have to implement it for an enterprise grade client. But right now I want to keep it more simpler, because the audience of this video could be anyone and everyone. So it could be developers, it could be founders, etc., right? So I wanted to keep this in that sense more generic, right? So we'll quickly go to the tenant config related prompts, because I already was working on the prompts, and as I mentioned, the idea is that I want to make things easier for whoever is watching the videos, so that even the prompts, they need not do the to and fro. The prompts, we can try to make it available for them on the fly, right? So what I have done is, I'm telling to create a tenant config, where instead of the hard coding, the values can come from this config, and then uh, we need not change any logic on the decision main.py, because we want to keep this logic only the, instead of the hard coded values, the config would get loaded from the config loader, right, from the config json. Okay. uh, so I have the basically the let me put the entire project into the context, because then I think it becomes more uh, then it would know that, okay, I have this particular folder as context. So we'll see where it places that config file. Let's see. Let me quickly push the prompt. I'll come back after it has the answer. So it has come back with this config, which seems fine. We can, we would need to do some fine tuning with respect to our actual code base. So at least it has come up with this particular what do you say, skeleton, right? And then there is a tenant context, where these are utility functions which extract tenant id from the s3 key. By the way, what procedure we would follow is that after s3 bucket, we have that key, right, which contains your folder and then the document. That folder, we can name it based on the tenant, right, or the customer, whatever uh, uh, you whatever your use case, it's based on that, right? So you have that extract tenant id from the s3 key, and then load tenant config, which means uh, loading for that particular tenant id retrieved from the key s3 key. So you have the tenant id, then for that tenant id you load its settings from this json. That's the idea. So that is what these two utility functions are doing. Now what we would also need to do here is that the decision, instead of the hard-coded values, we would need to change it to the configs coming from the tenant config file, right? So we could have put this line in that prompt only, but since I have not done that, so we can do it separately as well. By the way, sometimes what these co-pilots would do is they would do some extra changes as well. So if you think that your changes are okay, what you wanted to do you are getting, you can just stop the execution, right? Because sometimes, as I mentioned, the major problem with these coding agents is that the sometimes they may give you an overdose of the code, right, which you don't want. For example, in my case, it was changing the extraction of the key from the different agents, which is not required, right? Why do I need that? Because anyway from the event I'm getting the s3 bucket and key, so I don't have to change for each and every agent to extract the key from the s3 path and get it from these utility functions, right? Only in decision main.py we need that, because uh, our logic is currently hard coded, which we want to make it more config based, right? So it seems to have done something. Let us quickly check. The thing is, instead of this being in the shared folder, what would make sense for us more is that we can put it inside the agents folder, because along with decision main.py we would also need it inside compliance main.py. Why we will need it under compliance, I'll just show you in a bit, because we can try to extract some values from that config, and also put it back into the prompt to make it more config based prompt. So your prompts also become dynamic. So that is also something which we can do, but I'll take that up in a separate video. I'll not club that with the the tenant level config framework video, because that's a separate topic altogether. The dynamic prompt engine, so to speak. So we will for now keep uh, the compliance main.py as it is. Okay. uh, so that is something which we will currently not change. So in that case we only have to change the decision main.py, but it is not recognizing the tenant config. So in that case what I'll do is I'll put this shared folder inside. Let me quickly go to Finder, copy that, and then I can put it inside agents only, as a shared folder inside agents, which is fine. Or you can call it, instead of shared you can call it maybe tenant config. If you keep it shared, then it makes more sense, because you can have other set of shared files as well here, or modules, whatever you call it. Right, so we have this now. If if we have this inside this folder, then what is it that needs to change? Yes, agents is getting referenced dot shared dot tenant context. So now it will work. Okay. Okay, so this seems fine now. Okay, yes, so it was able to also provide the or make the change for the hard-coded values, right? So this looks good. What I'll do is that we will quickly check the decision lambda with the changes we have made, right? So we have the trigger here only. Let me go to agents decision, and then inside decision trigger, let me quickly check the trigger. Okay, so basically what we are checking is that it should pick up the config from this JSON, right? So for that to happen, we would need to change this to be the tenant ID, the actual tenant ID, so that it can match the tenant ID here, right? Because this entire thing is your key, and even here. Okay. Overall compliance score, and this and this. So welcome back, guys. So actually thing is, I just moved that trigger file from decision folder to the scripts folder, and here we are giving it agents.decision.main to be called. Okay, and inside of the main, then you have to call your tenant context, which is under the shared folder, as we saw, right? This will basically extract the tenant ID from the S3 key, whatever is getting passed from the trigger, and then it will load the tenant config, right? So let's see if the loading is happening. That's what we want to test it out now. So yes, I just basically executed the trigger file, and if you see, I've just printed the tenant ID just after we extract it from this function. Okay, and the tenant config. So tenant config it is picking up is risk threshold, compliance score threshold. Let's quickly check that. For ACME it is 7, 6, and bedrock model ID nodes. So yes, I mean it has put model ID and nodes as additional feeds, so if we require that, we can keep them. Otherwise, very well we can remove these configs. But the important thing is the risk score threshold and the compliance score threshold. Okay, now since we have this, uh, why is the confidence threshold not getting picked? Let me quickly check. Thresholds, right? Resolve thresholds, yes. Tenant config, so confidence threshold, right? Let's see. So confidence threshold should also be there, right? So instead of the bedrock model ID, let me make it confidence threshold. Okay, in all the places, because currently we don't want to put bedrock model ID. Okay, so it will basically pick the 3 configs from here. Right now, since we have this and the configs are getting picked up, what we will do is I'll quickly uh, push these settings, because we have added one folder into the agents bucket, right? And ultimately your decision.zip needs to know that shared folder exists. So here one thing which we need to do is, instead of decision.zip, this will get removed because currently it contains only the main.py. Now since you have to you have to have shared in your reference inside of your main.py, because you are importing these 2 functions from that shared folder, right? So for us to have this in the Lambda there in the decision folder, and similarly for the other agents we will be creating, what we will do is we will create an agents.zip only, and from that agents.zip we will then refer various libraries and so on and so forth, right? Because agents contains your shared folder, and which is what we need as the reference, right? So for decision, your zip, the lambda zip would be the agents.zip. So this is the important thing to note here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll quickly open this in finder and create a zip out of it. Okay, so we have the zip. Now we would need to change couple of things. We would need to change this in the dev.vars file. Decision zip is basically the agents.zip. Okay, other zips remain the same, and also we need to change the handler for the decision lambda in your lambda modules, right? Because main.handler will not work. It would be agent, since agent it's the agent zip, and we are doing it on the agents folder, so the starting point is the agents, right? Dot your decision dot main dot handler, this would be the handler. Okay, I think it looks good to me. Let me quickly go to the yes guys, so those settings have been applied. Now what we will do is we'll do a quick check as to whether the decision agent is properly working and it is picking up the configs, right? And nothing changes on the ASL side of things, as you would know, because Currently we are not changing anything in the compliance and um, risk analysis lambdas, right? And plus the ASL file for decision lambda, nothing as such changes, because it's just the configs instead of the hard coding which is changing, right? So in this case, what we will do is we will go to your, right, this is the S3 bucket. What I'll do is I'll quickly create a folder ACME, right? And I'll also create one more folder known as Globex. Okay, inside of ECME I'll upload a file. Okay, this should basically trigger the state machine. Let's quickly check if the trigger has happened. Yes, the trigger has happened, and our main intention would be to see what are the configs we are getting, right? So it was inside the ECME. We have done ECME. The config which we have put is risk 7, right? Confidence threshold 0.7. So according to that, what should be the, yeah, depending on the score, overall risk score and the status, I think we can quickly check. The thresholds which it took is 7 and 0.7, which is fine. And overall risk score which it got from the extracted text or after the risk analysis step was 5.25, confidence was 0.75, compliance score was 7.25. Let us quickly check this in our model response, right? So yeah, 5.25, 0.75, right? And of course overall compliance score it is getting as 7.25. okay, compliance status somehow is still not coming. We will check the compliance agent anyway in the next video, because we'll be doing the dynamic prompting with configs, okay, in the next video. So we'll look at that, look at the compliance agent anyway in that video. I'm not worried about that right now. According to the logic, overall risk score greater than risk score threshold. So risk score was 5.25, threshold was 7. So this is not the thing. Then compliance status, decision main.py. I think we changed this to, okay, where is the normalize compliance status getting called? Yes, normalize compliance status. Okay, event.get compliance status. So this is anyway not coming, right? Compliance findings, inside of that compliance status, even that is not coming inside of compliance findings, right? Only overall compliance score is coming. So let's not worry about that right now. Normalize compliance status, yes. So currently it's a none, right? Because currently the status is not coming. So this is not, this particular condition is not getting satisfied. Now let's look at the overall confidence threshold. We are getting as 0.7, right? And 0.7 is not greater than your overall confidence, which is coming as 0.75. right? Since this is not greater, so this particular condition is not getting satisfied, right? Overall confidence is greater than confidence threshold, not the other way around. So that is why auto approve, it has gone with auto approve. Okay, so which means that the particular decision logic is working with the config. Okay, what I'll do is I'll stop this video right here. uh, Hope this particular video was informative. You understood about how you can make this more dynamic with tenant configs and not hard code the thresholds in the decision agent, because this helps you in deploying a standard code and not redundant code. Okay, so yeah, I'll take a leave, and if at all you are interested in creating any of these similar kind of agentic AI systems in AWS, you can reach out to us. Link is there in the description. So yeah, until next time, this is Romit signing off. Thank you.